Hi, we're happy to talk to you today on the roadshow presentation for Progenity. I'm Eric Desparbes, the CFO of Progenity. With me, Harry Stiley, the CEO and Chairman of Progenity. I will bring your attention to the forward-looking statement disclosure that we have at the beginning of the presentation. I will make some forward-looking statements today, and those are covered under the disclosure statements there. The offering summary, so we're here today presenting an offering. We're targeting $100 million of primary shares issuance. So this is a fundraising exercise. A price range of $14 to $16, midpoint $15. So the share count we present there is based on the midpoint. The purpose of the fundraising is to help support funding for the operations of the company, as well as funding the R&D pipeline that we'll be presenting to you in the course of the presentation. Part of the underwriting of the $100 million includes a substantial insiders participation. Currently, we're targeting up to $50 million from insiders led by Ethereum and other insiders, including management. The lead underwriters are Piper and Wells Fargo, and if you have questions after this on the process, pricing, and offering, we invite you to have a conversation with them. All right.
Thank you, Eric. Progenity is a biotechnology company that is a revenue-generating business that's focused on the OBGYN MFM channel. Company's over 9 years old, and this business is linked to a prodigious innovation pipeline, which I'll come to shortly. The focus of the company today, as I mentioned, is the OBGYN MFM channels. You're going to hear about GI initiatives in a second, and the GI initiatives, the link, if you like, between the two is the GYN sees about 50% of women over 50 and is a primary care physician, and about 25% of women under 50. We're also looking to build a specialty GI channel in the future, and you'll begin to see how that comes together. There's also, for some of our opportunities, a material PCP opportunity, PCP channel, which we'll get into at another occasion. So we've got a broad range of platforms addressing both proteomics in the form of preeclampsia, GI precision medicine, which is a combination of devices and RX and DX to interrogate ingestible devices to interrogate GI, to treat GI diseases or to deliver proteins or peptides orally to achieve systemic distribution. This innovation trove is underpinned by a rich intellectual property portfolio created by combining both acquisitions, licensing, and of course, it's key, organic innovation. Don't rely on our IP, but it's great to know that we have such a extensive and deep portfolio. Now, initially, when the company started many years ago now, it was focused on the patient and the physician, and it was an out-of-network business. But in the last few years, we have undergone a significant business model transformation as we've moved the business from an out-of-network operator to an in-network entity, or dominantly in-network entity. In order to achieve that, we had to reach agreement with a number of the commercial payers. These include Aetna, Cigna, United, and I'm very pleased today to say that we are in-network as of this year with Aetna, and as of a couple of weeks ago, Cigna. We anticipate our in-network transition to continue. Moving in-network creates a lot of what I would call tailwinds for us, because the out-network play it has run its course and is not attractive anymore. So moving in network creates the upside opportunity that a larger percentage of our tests are going to be reimbursed in the future. Okay, and remember, we have contracted rates with the payers that contracted for a number of years. This should improve our margins and revenue as a matter of course, but if we execute well. Of course, the second thing that's going to present to us as being in network is a larger volume opportunity where we can now access accounts that were hitherto locked up for us, or from us actually, and we're looking forward to addressing those opportunities as well. A second area of evolution for the company was in relation to government infractions where we transgress in both committed code violations, inducement violations. This is over a number of years early in the company's evolution, up until about 2018 for the inducements. We have subsequently settled with the government, I'm pleased to say, and we're able now to focus our energies on ensuring that we're able to compete in a compliant manner, okay, which we've taken a number of steps to achieve over these years, and you'll see some of that later on. But also to compete more broadly in the marketplace, and it's quite exciting. One other point I want to emphasize, and it may not be apparent, but we achieved under the CARES Act a 37.8 million distribution because when the company was out of network, actually quite profitable, and these funds more than offset contributions that we're going to make towards these structured payments we had before us. And in fact, we believe that we are not going to utilize any of this offering for those payments because of where we are in the payment cycle and the fact that we've raised the capital. So what are the main drivers of our business in terms of revenue? So we're looking at the business today. So as I mentioned, we're one of the pure OBGYN MFM plays out there. And our main volume driver is Enatal, which is NIPT, as it's well known. We're growing, at least we were before the COVID pandemic, we were growing quite rapidly, and we're resuming our trends of growth as we speak. So Enatal was a business that we've been in for many years. Initially, we distributed other people's tests, but as of a few years ago, we began to sell the Illumina, our version of our Illumina test. We never ever chased volume because whilst low risk was being poorly reimbursed, we decided to take our foot off the throttle. Even so, we upped the rate of market expansion. However, in October of 2018, we launched Enatal 2 product, which was a proprietary product that we developed internally in the Illumina sequencing solution. And because of the attributes, we began to market the advantages of our NIPT technology, where we saw ourselves as having equivalent performance with T21, but with superior performance in 18, 13, and other chromosomal disorders. Our failure rate hovers around 1%. We've got class-leading turnaround time. We market a generous turnaround time. We actually believe we're class-leading with our turnaround time. And the other thing is we believe we established ourselves as the direct COGS leader in the space with the development of this innovation. All of this conspired to drive our growth materially, which we'll get to. Preparant is really the carrier testing portfolio. Here we have a variety of products to serve different needs. This is also margin contributor. This particular area has been stable, but in the last few years, with the advent of larger, more complex panels, we've seen significant payer pushback on those panels. So today, in order to compete, you need to balance the demands of the customer, in this case a physician, with what gets paid. And where we've adapted and continue to adapt to those conditions. Discover is our inheritable cancer product. When we move into a new market, We like to do a test send out, which is we distribute another party's test. This gives us an idea whether the market that we're entering, we understand it, we're effective at it before we actually move in and develop a test. Okay, so we scale as a tiny part of the business. It's about 1.5 to 2% overall business. On the right of this slide is what really makes our customers sticky to Progenity, and we're proud of that fact. So this ranges the way we interact and serve the customer using a range of approaches, which can include AI, a lot of human touch. We value providing high service to our customers, and often lose a customer, we lose them from time to time. Many of them return to us because they realize we've got a high value proposition. We offer not just great product, great service. Next slide. So what is, to give you a sense of how big our sales force is and commercial organization, and remember we're principally focused on OBGYN and the MFM channel. We have over 140 folks in the PAN National Sales Organization here in the US. They're organized into 4 areas, and as I mentioned, they're focused on OBGYN and MFM. In the future, you should expect to see a GI specialty channel to go forward. Now, because, and frankly, during COVID, we've been growing our sales force, okay? And that's going to pay dividends later. Now, another factor that's important to appreciate as we move in network, and we believe we'll see a high percentage of tests reimbursed, which will improve margins and revenue, as well as a larger volume opportunity set, so access to more customers have been out of our purview up until today. And also, ultra preeclampsia, which is coming down fast. We intend to increase our sales force by about 40 to 50. That will position it around 190 to 200 next 18 months. Now, as of a couple of years ago, marketing efforts were rudimentary, but since 2 years, we invested in marketing. We built a formidable, sophisticated marketing team. We're excited by the difference they make to our business, and that continues to roll and show. So, for example, on Progenity 2, they made a recommendation to begin to market our advantages. And we did that. That's definitely that, and also aligning Salesforce incentives, so the quality of the service, reasons why our business began to grow and accelerate. An area that we hitherto ignored and didn't do well in as an out-network business was managed care. And we built, again, an experienced organization that interacts with the payers on a regular basis. So we form active relationships with the payers as valued stakeholders in our business, and to stay on top of elements and to deal with issues as they arise during the normal business. To give you a sense, we're extremely US focused. There are international opportunities that we intend to begin to harvest directly through partnership with global regional partners, especially with the advent of preeclampsia, which is a global opportunity today. This next slide gives you a sense of how the business has been performing. So we're achieving strong volume growth, and I believe there's more room for us now that we're predominantly in network to grow further with good quality business and profit and higher margin business as well. So if you see in 2016 to around 2017 and 2018, we were growing at a good rate of 12 to 14%. And that was deliberate because we weren't chasing volume, because as many of you may know, part of the business, low risk and IPT, it's fully reimbursed and continues to be reimbursed to this day. So rather than chase and grab market share, our strategy was to back up Okay, but even so, we backed off, grew really, really nicely, up to 14%. Now, in October 2018, we launched Innatal 2. Innatal 2 was our own proprietary NIPT technology, which could be used to look at, not just fetal nucleic acids, but also cancer-derived nucleic acids and other disease. So it's a broad range of circulating, focused initially is on it. So with the launch of that technology and the advantages it had, we began to market those advantages and send our sales force to see material jump in sales volume. And frankly, if we chased all the volume in practice, account management, we reduce accounts overall positive to margin or strategic to us, we would have grown materially faster. So let's look at Q4, because now we begin to address COVID. Q4 is a good reference. It was an inline quarter for 2019. And then if you look at Q1 came out flat relative to Q4. Now, I will share with you that we were on strong growth path in Q1 of 2020. However, in the last 2 or 3 weeks of the quarter, COVID began to bite. And what that did was it basically removed growth that we're seeing. And very, very quickly, we saw that our business was stabilizing and was actually proven to be quite resilient relative to others and other businesses in our space. And I think a big reason for that is NIPT barely missed a step during COVID. However, carrier testing business and inheritable cancer business suffered at 22% during this window. Now, today, I'm pleased to say that the business not only has it stabilized, but it's now showing, recovering growth. If my sales leadership was here, they would refer to it as rebounding growth. If this trend continues over the next few weeks, we expect to be at the growth rates that we were before COVID struck. And that's important to understand. Now, we're not going to make up the deficit because there were actual losses during this window, but we expect to regain growth. Of course, in the future, there may be other COVID spikes. I will share with you that I expect them to be more muted in April and May in terms of the effects on the business, because there's been an adjustment. Physicians, patients, especially ourselves, developed digital tools and mobile phlebotomy, mobile ways of serving the patient so that it reduces their exposure in terms of leaving their homes. And that's proven to be remarkably effective in helping us realize it. The other thing is they're resilient. It takes a team. Our genetic counselors are doing a formidable job helping out both the physician and patient in a very proactive way. IT is doing a great job. New tools and technologies. Of course, both marketing and sales stepping in an impressive way. So as just a few weeks ago, we were digital in the way we detail the physician, serve the patient. But today, there's at least 20% of the sales force that's done. So encouraged by progress and anticipate continuing, and we expect to be better positioned to weather any adversity that a future COVID spike is likely to throw our way. Next slide. So this slide attempts to give you a global view of areas that we're in terms of our business, potential of the areas that are moving. Some of these opportunities are literally greenfield, others disrupt existing markets. And I'll go into those details later on. Blue implies that we're in those markets and there's opportunities. So, for example, if you look at inherited cancer, the next couple of years, we should access more upside, especially in our channel, provided we believe the opportunity is really compelling for us. I do want to point your attention to the epigenetics platform, which we'll not discuss today. That should not diminish its future potential value. One thing you should notice about Progenity, have a range of analyte-based platforms, genomics, proteomics, epigenomics, and we believe disease is complex. I'm going to use each one, combination thereof. The epigenetics platform will enable us to, in a profound way, address a range of diseases, NASH, as well as liquid biopsy, which is synonymous with cancer in the future. So expect that to generate content that we could commercialize in the future. Next, please. So this next slide attempts to factor in some of the COVID impact on our business. And you can see timelines that we're putting out there for consideration. However, some of these may need further adjustment as we spin our operations back. Give you an example. Michigan had very strict lockdown orders, which inhibited any R&D in our Ann Arbor facility. 3 weeks ago, they were lifted, and we were able to spin the business up, and our suppliers are coming. So both preeclampsia and natal 4 are being developed in Ann Arbor. They've been impacted, but we're attempting here to show the impact. We're pretty much on the on target, but there may well be a couple of slippages. But meanwhile, the other programs seem to be going pretty well. So now we're going to talk about one of our near-term value drivers, and this is very exciting. It's an area that I've been personally interested in, our CSO have been interested in. And what we have here is proteomic-based tests. So look at this as the first product of a proteomic platform. And this is a test for preeclampsia. This is a route test, okay, and this is an immunodiagnostic test. So for those of you who are not familiar with preeclampsia, it's the second largest cause of maternal mortality here in the US. It's actually a global opportunity, and these numbers are unfortunately are worse in some of the global markets. Also affects the fetus, can affect the fetus, both because of premature delivery, which is the only way to treat preeclampsia, really, severe preeclampsia. But also there could be ill health associated with babies that have been subject to. So it's a very serious disease. A high unmet. Every year there are more than 700,000 women present with symptoms, and the symptoms are pretty straightforward. Really, they are hypertension, uremia, and anemia. Okay, so a physician, an OBGYN, leverages those plus their experience to attempt to diagnose preeclampsia. And it's a very operator dependent. That's one. You look at the NPV of that particular process, it's around 82%. Okay, the challenge, however, is there are many forms of hypertension. For example, gestational diabetes can result in hypertension, genital hypertension, chronic hypertension, gestational hypertension, and all those are forms that can be managed in a more straightforward way. However, preeclamptic hypertension is very serious if left untreated. And if you recall, the profound way of treating it is premature delivery. Ordinarily, alternative to maintain the pregnancy, folks can aspirin, steroid to help accelerate the maturation of the fetus. Now, the test that we've developed, that's in development. So this is an aid to diagnosis. Okay, it's not a diagnostic test. It will facilitate, the diagnosis, the detection of preeclampsia. It's a multi-analyte protein biomarker assay, and it's designed to more accurately differentiate between hypertensive disorders of pregnancy, P by ruling out preeclampsia in symptomatic women that results in preterm. This is really important because what we're interested in identifying is women likely to develop severe preeclampsia that requires preterm. That's where all the risk is. That's where the costs are in the paradigm of managing preeclampsia. If the patient has preeclampsia, physician is able to manage the pregnancy to full term, near full term. That's our ultimate goal, is to facilitate. Okay, test is a monitoring test, and it has a result that's valid for 1 or 2 weeks. So, and that's going to be determined in our validation study, the actual window of the results validity. So if you're ruled out, then you go on with your life for that window of time. If you have symptoms, and you can be managed appropriately. However, if you're not, then it's a very high probability, see our data stands today. Huge cost to the system, and significant found health consequences. The opportunity, we estimate after scrutiny, as being around 3 billion TAM in the US. Some folks argue it's bigger than that. Some folks argue it's smaller than that. Here's a good opportunity. So I'm really pleased to say that we exited. So we follow FOVV, feasibility optimization validation protocol process, and a few months ago we exited optimization. And in optimization, we tested over 900 subjects, of which 522 are naive to the platform, to them effectively. So in a way, the team did a de facto verification. Okay, so I'm not claiming we did verification. I'm just saying that the full commercial platform is utilized over 922 subjects, 522 were novel to the platform, and that really helps give us confidence that the verification step, which is coming in the future, which looks at the analytical performance platform, it's probably going to be quite solid. So we look at the table on the right. Gestational age, the window that we're most interested in is weeks 28 to 37. It's in that window that most preeclampsia arises and preterm birth occurs. Okay, and so that's the area of interest. 37 weeks, you could be delivered pregnancy. So one area I want to point out to is if you look at the data, if you look at the 28 weeks or less, where we looked at 128 samples, gives me the opportunity to mention what novel biomarker. This is a well-known biomarker. However, we were able to determine which forms of the and under which conditions we can stabilize those experimentally. And that particular, once we achieved that, it gave us profound new capabilities. And this is an interesting marker because it's exceptionally highly expressed the earlier you are. So, for example, you see a very high amount at 20. As the pregnancy approaches full term, it drops off. It's still useful, okay, but other markers take a juncture. So we're quite excited about this marker, and it gives you an idea. Some of the directions could take future PE tests, okay, to cover a broader range of gestational ages. And for those of you who want to say that weeks 20 to 28 are actually also important in preeclampsia. To remind you again, weeks 28 to 37 are what we're interested in. That's where most of the preeclampsia occurs. That's where most of the also, obviously, the consequences in terms of health. Very focused on the OBGYN and MFM. In fact, we believe 90% of the opportunity is in the OBGYN, 10% is in the MFM, which is great because we're in that channel already. The reason why to build 40 or 50 as we go in network access a range of opportunity and we launch preeclampsia, we want to be able to really drive it. So let's look at the data on the bottom there. So this is the optimization performance in the intended use population. I'm just going to go straight to the OBGYN, where we believe the prevalence of preeclampsia is about 10%. Prevalence affects the NPV. The higher the prevalence, usually the lower the NPV. So you can see from the study at 10% prevalence, we achieved 91% sensitivity. We achieved a specificity of 80%, and we achieved an NPV of 98.6%, which is exquisite. Okay, to give you a perspective, at 20% prevalence performance, the NPV is around 97 something percent, 97.1%. And that's without loss of sensitivity and specificity. And we expect to see 20% or higher in the MFM, where it has a rich population. Our next steps are verification, which, as I mentioned, is going to be formally establishing the analytical performance of the test. X any additional COVID impact, we expect to complete that in Q4, and that sets us up for patient likely in Q2. And again, with the caveat that maybe some big implications, but I think those timelines are solid. Expect to launch towards the end, and that would be a targeted launch towards the end of Q2 to Q3. In that kind of we've already collected the verification, validation sample sets, so really it's pretty to the groundstone and to execute well, hopefully under lockdowns or other issues, COVID outbreaks, and we anticipate making these times happen. This next slide touches upon the commercial opportunity that we see in the US. And as a reminder, we have a global opportunity here, but initially developing a laboratory developed test. Hearing about today is a laboratory developed test. However, also plan to visit the agency, as our intention is to develop an in vitro diagnostic. More about that later. Okay, so the commercial opportunity, if you look at our initial target market, we estimate as a $675 million opportunity that we believe we service is about $2 billion. The overall TAM is around $3 billion. Again, an exceptional opportunity and real chance to make a big difference to people, to patients, pregnant moms' health, to facilitate decision that the physician has to make. Okay, so we're excited about the difference we're going to make. All the rest is going to follow. So this next slide basically addresses, so one area we continuously innovate in NIPT dimensions to look at creative ways of driving costs down and whilst maintaining performance and function. Took a great step. Our first step was ATAL 2. Okay, the next step is in ATAL 4, which execute well, should deliver a 50% reduction of direct COGS from where we are today. We achieve this coupled with in-network transition, high percentage of tests getting paid, as well as larger volume. We expect the core business side, the diagnostics business, to break even XR and around end of 22. Okay, This is a non-sequencing solution, and the scientists believe that they're going to deliver this for us. So they feel very confident making great progress towards this solution. One other point I want to leave you with, this is a platform for quantifying a range of animals. We're just having to use it, first of all, for an OPT. Equally, any DNA, RNA, methylated DNA, proteins be amenable to this proprietary platform. This is also a simple solution, sequencing, easier to use, and that's also purpose designed. Ultimately, we want to take this only IVD, as well as making it through partnerships in our NIPT channel. So I'm going to change the tempo a little bit and talk about GI. You recall 50%, the GYN is the primary care physician, 50% of 50 and about 20% under 50 have GI issues. Also planning to build a specialty channel to address GI. It's highly achievable given the opportunity in front of us. And then there's a PCP opportunity, which you'll hear more about later. We believe that's a vast opportunity for some of the particular tests, and hopefully share our perspective. So if you think about the GI is really very accessible. Okay. However, we really not evolved technologies that would be used to interrogate it immensely. So there's an opportunity to make a difference. So we have the stool, and there's a particular company that's done extremely well in showing what you can do in that arena. There's endoscopy, the colorectal region, and there's endoscopy for the small intestine. Also, there's breath test, which is highly insensitive, and there's also imaging technologies. That's the state of play. If you look at the small intestine, that's where all the biology of interest, or most of the biology of interest, occurs. Neurotransmitter production, gut-brain interface, 75% of the immune system is in the small intestine. I can go on. Okay, disease originates in the small intestine. For example, digestion occurs, assimilation occurs. So I think disease is really the epicenter for patients. However, if you look at enteroscopy, you could only really, using a pediatric endoscope, you could only really get about halfway down the small intestine. So that's very limited. So our approach was to develop a family of devices that are adjustable, that really begin to offer profound tools for enabling us to interrogate the molecular pathology, cellular pathology of the GI tract. Okay, in one dimension. Also, related devices are able to deliver drugs to treat diseases such as inflammatory bowel cancer, infections in the GI tract, or to deliver protein systemic or peptides systemically to achieve, through the oral route, to achieve systemic distribution, which is a huge goal. Now, part of what we did is 3 of the devices, Targeted Therapeutic, Progenity Lab, and Sample Technology, all have an intrinsic auto-locating technology. So in other words, they have sophisticated electronics and algorithms enable the devices to self-navigate GI tract, okay, using 5 anatomic reference points. This is a profound development in terms of being able to deliver to known locations in the GI tract, autonomous fashion. We don't have time to cover all these devices. It's not because the ones we leave out are not We just had to focus given the time. So why don't we dive in? So the first of these devices is what we refer to as the PLDX. So think about this. This is a self-navigating, autonomous, fully ingestible fluorescent laboratory that you swallow, goes to a particular location, removes an analyte, runs a fluorescent assay, then telemetrically some results. So it's a real digital play in a digital world, okay, but you do not need to recover the device at all, okay? So where are we with this? So it's the next step, okay? So 105 million annual patient visits occur in the US because of symptoms that may suggest a disease called SIBO, small intestine bacterial. Very large opportunity, high unmet need. SIBO is proving to be the gateway disease for many other chronic conditions, some of which are very serious. So there's no current FDA-approved SIBO diagnostic strategy. We rely upon double balloon enteroscopy with aspiration. It's highly invasive, requires high operator excellence, and requires general anesthetic and is expensive. The other extreme is the breath test, which is insensitive. Okay, so what is this device? What is this about? So we visited the FDA on 2 separate occasions, listened to them very carefully, and we're developing an ingestible measurement device that aims at measuring bacterial concentrations in known locations in patients suspected to have SIBO. Some of the symptoms associated with SIBO is gas, distension, constipation, diarrhea, pain, so on and so forth. Very common symptomology. So we're planning to seek a de novo classification. It's how we've been guided by the agency. The fluorescent assay is designed to detect metabolically active bacteria to provide a more accurate bacterial concentration in the geogenome. So here is an example. Being able to target the location is very important. So if you really think about this, there's a gradient of bacteria, with the gradient being concentration of bacteria being very high towards the colon, dropping off towards the stomach. Okay, if you consider the colon from 10 to the 12, 10 to the 14 bacteria or microbes, all the way down to 10 to the stomach. In SIBO, in the geogenome, so it's important to get the location. Miss that location, get a different. Right now, we're looking to SIBO is 10 to the 5 colony-forming in geogenome. So again, profound technology. Another feature of the technology is it provides GI motility, okay, which is intrinsic. And the important point, our autolocation is independent GI differences in motility, pH, microbial environment, enzymes. It completely manages to operate using these 5 anatomic features. A recent development is that we were able to demonstrate the assay on the bench, the same assay in the metrics that exists in the device, which is benchtop, and 3 different centers where they use microbiology. And we got really strong relation between our assay and microbiology. So we're quite excited. We expect to publish this shortly. So what I've been describing is not Star Wars, okay? It sounds like Star Wars, and maybe it should be. It's 4 or 5 years worth of. So right now we're in manufacturing, and we're in yield improvement, and some minor tweaks. We continue making the progress, and there's no COVID interaction. We expect to have it ready for preclinical use by the now, one other point I want to leave you with. This is an ingestible fluorescent rotary. Okay, so you can imagine that we intend to build a range of assays, range of fluorescent assays for a range of diseases: colon cancer, creatic cancer, hepatic cancer, other microbial conditions. There's a whole plethora of opportunities. You want to go directly cytokine free. You want to look at IBD and other factors that drive up immunological disorders in the GI. So imagine a whole opportunity set go directly to the source, not proxy like blood, stool, or whatever you have. Okay, so it's quite exciting, beginning with SIBO, and goes well. We expect to have cleared a de novo 510K towards the end of 23 into 24, and we enter should be smart. The oral biotherapeutic, that's the other technology we chose to showcase during this process. So unlike the three other devices that have sophisticated electronics, here, right, we strove to develop a simple, okay? So if you really think about it, the holy grail in our business is to be able to deliver proteins and peptides orally so they can achieve their systemic effects. And it's very, very challenging to do that. We believe we have what's going to emerge as a world-leading solution, okay, to that particular. And just to remind you here, we're actually developing drugs. Our strategy is to take drugs, cadonilimab, various GLP-1s that are 505b2 compatible, tofacitinib, Vido. These are well-known drugs with known mechanisms to vertically integrate our pipeline as well as validate the technology. Because at the end of the day, we're not a device player to ourselves in this regard as a drug company, a biotherapeutic. So how do we achieve this? Our strategy was inspired by needle-free subcutaneous injectors. Okay, so we developed an oral delivery of proteins and peptides, which is designed to be delivered by needle-free jet release in the small intestine. I'll go to the table below before I go any further, and this is electronics-free. This is key because it goes to simplicity. The other dimension is use a multidisciplinary team to design a technology that is going to be compatible with a range of formulations of protein peptides, and also ways of producing and manufacturing and quality checking those proteins and peptides. So basically, we're trying to develop plug-and-play technology that fits in the paradigm, affords profound benefit by achieving a. So we go to the table below where it says Progenity. The very first study we attempted was human insulin. It's a relatively small peptide. This was in the swine euglycemic clamp model. So we're looking at the PK and PD over 18. The end size was 18. We achieved a bioavailability of 19%. That's a percent IV. Again, this is pretty profound performance. Okay. You go to dulaglutide, which is a Lilly drug. It's doing very, very well. It's basically an FC. It's linked to 2 GLP-1s. As a molecular weight, 60,000. We were able to achieve 27% bioavailability. Again, it's a percent of IV, where IV is 100%. And then, of course, adalimumab, which is an example of IgG1, which is an example of many monoclonals. we were able to achieve 26% royalty. Now, the way we did this was as a proof of concept study, had the actual needle-free injector, we triggered it and positioned it with an endoscope. So I want to bring you up to speed as to where we are now. Now, a couple of points here. So the way we approach our intellectual property is not device-centric. Yes, developed intellectual property around devices. However, we've claimed adjustable devices and differences in molecular weight. Looked at, for example, different types of protein, where you see glutide versus human insulin, and versus adalimumab, which is an example of a antibody. So the property is pretty good. This technology is going to work for most, if not all, antibodies. Again, to put this into perspective, that's exceptional performance. Most of this data is over a year old. We expect that we can do a lot. So the key development that occurred, if you recall, we used the semaglutide hemisphere is Novo's drug that's on the market. It's going to pounds. It's an GLP. Okay, first generation of GLP achieved very modest bioavailability. Obviously, the opportunity is such that they were motivated to develop it. We believe we do a lot better. Okay. So the key step that occurred recently, and I was excited, is that we were able to optimize the jet mechanism and advance to an autonomous, fully integrated prototype. What does that mean? That means we don't need the endoscope to position to release. So we've developed a discrete energy source, okay, and an autonomous trigger. So effectively, swallow what looks like a pill. It will navigate, it will survive at the stomach. It will enter the small intestine, and then a bit of chemistry occurs. It triggers the device. You get release of the subsequent absorption and distribution. Now, so far, tested this device on the bench and hoping in the distant future to transition it to preclinical. We're obviously feeling confident that it will translate well. Now, our pipeline, as I mentioned, includes adalimumab, which is itself the largest selling drug. However, it's also an example of, I think we need to learn and develop. They also use adalimumab topic straight. An area that we're especially excited in is in GLP-1s, and we have initiatives in that arena. A number of reasons why we like GLP-1s is the opportunity is vast. GLPs is projected to grow to 50 in a few years for all GLPs. This is all GLPs to address primarily obesity, NASH, cardiovascular diseases, as well as diabetes. So vast opportunity, lots of room for lots of folks. We believe our oral technology is going to give us a distinctive advantage in space. So look out for that in the future. So what I'll do now is stop and hand the baton to Eric.
Thank you, Eric. So we'll cover governance and financial profile. So as we're about to become a public company, one of the things that we've thought about way back when is to make sure that we establish a strong board. And Harry started inviting early last year new board members to complement our board structure, to bring about mainly two things: strengthen the governance and the compliance philosophy of the company. And aside from Harry and Jeff Farrell, who represents our larger insider shareholders, brought on board a team that actually contributes to the substance that it is relevant for the company. So as an example, Jeff Alter used to be the CEO of United Health. So obviously, we talked a little bit earlier around transition from out to in network. The company has been going through. So Jeff have had a lot of contribution in that process. John Bigelke, who chairs our audit committee. For me as the CFO, I can't ask for a better partner to head the audit committee. John used to be the global health of the healthcare practice at Deloitte, so obviously brings a lot of gravitas and knowledge in that area. Sam Nussbaum used to be the CMO at Anthem, so obviously brings a lot of clinical health economics capabilities and is very instrumental in a lot of our clinical development areas. Lynn Powell, very experienced in drug development and commercialization, just talked about one of our drug programs. So obviously she's instrumental in that process. Brian Kodzin, who chairs our scientific committee, he used to have full responsibility, for example, at Amgen on phase 1 to phase 4 developments. So he's very experienced and has a high contribution to our clinical development process. The other thing that we'll say about the board is we've been functioning for more than a year now as a public company. So all the committees of the board are chaired by independent directors. So we've created, if you want, a track record of a strong governance and compliance structure. The other aspect that is very important is the management team. We believe we have an experienced management team that is easily capable of managing the different areas of the business. We've added additional resources to our team recently. The whole team in general has about less than 2 years of tenure here. So relatively recent targeted additions to the management team. And as I said recently, Troy Seal just joined us as our CIO, used to be the CIO of Illumina. And more recently, Damon Silvestri is now our COO, used to be the head of operation for Natera. So very, very complementary management team. Financial highlights, we talked about the growth in volume that we've witnessed over the last few years. Obviously, that has translated into, as we show here on the diagram at the top left, in growth in revenues. Revenues tend to also drive the way our OPEX profile evolves, especially sales management and G&A. We also have a pretty healthy innovation pipeline, so that's why we highlight our R&D investments that we've made over the last 2 years. And we show here on the top right the operating cash flow as a good proxy for our annual cash burn. So you can see in 2019, $910 million of average cash burn ties in very well with the size of offering that we're in the process of presenting to the market. And one of our goals is to make sure that not only that we raise capital now as part of this IPO, but we complement it with non-dilutive sources of capital. Obviously, maximizing the margins that we generate from our portfolio of commercialized product, that's our first priority. And we're improving that gradually. Income from other non-dilutive sources include, Harry talked about this a little bit earlier, as part of the CARES Act, one of the law that was promulgated is the ability for companies to have a 5-year carryback on a previous year NOLs. As a result, we've been able to secure $37.8 million of income tax recovery. So yes, we used to run on a profitable operations, and we've been able to recover some of it already as we speak. Other sources of non-dilutive capital is going to be partnership revenues. As you probably by now understand, we have a pretty healthy innovation pipeline. Our GI precision medicine programs are well suited for commercial partnerships. We're in active discussions and negotiation with pharma companies to conclude accretive arrangements that will complement the source of capital that we're in the process of raising here. So I want to make it very clear that we're looking at all sorts of funding, not just the IPO that we have here. From an assets perspective, I want to bring your attention to end of 2019. We had $33 million of cash at the end of last year. Our insiders including largely Ethereum and others, including Harry, have been contributing additional capital since the beginning of the year. And we've recently received the first down payment from the income tax recovery. So we think we have a pretty healthy balance sheet heading into this offering. And we think that the size and parameters of the offering we're considering here would be a good complement to our balance sheet and strengthen both the balance sheet and working capital capabilities of the business. With that, I'll stop there and let Harry finish with closing remarks.
So, thank you, Eric. So, we believe we've got a growing differentiation in a competitive market, and I believe this differentiation is only going to expand with In-804 and preeclampsia, which are both focused on a channel. Then beyond that, we have opportunities beyond that, as you could also appreciate, advanced in our transition into a network. We just executed agreements early in the year for Aetna, who, by the way, is covering NIPT low risk at least until August, which is very nice of them. We don't know beyond that. And also with Cigna just a couple of weeks ago, so that agreement is July 1. We expect it's going to provide us opportunity to improve margins and revenue, as well as capture volume or support our ambitious volume growth. The pipeline, you've got to view the pipeline as a number of steps that will include de-risking of assets, revenue generation from assets, and also, as Eric hinted at, deals, partnerships along. So then look at the business as such. We've got a DX business that provides a floor for you. It's very resilient and it weathered COVID very well. It's a 9-year-old business. We believe it has more potential and will continue to generate long-term cash. And if we to execute and harvest the benefits in front of us, we expect that business to break even in 22 for the reasons I've already shared. Preeclampsia, which is also in our channel, it's a rule-out test, is advancing rapidly, as you've seen, to commercial readiness. And hopefully that should begin to contribute in a profound way in the coming years. Then, of course, the potentially transformative GI assets, which frankly are really going to, we hope and anticipate that they profoundly change the way interrogate and treat GI instead of continuing to it orally. And there's lots of optionality, as some of you would say, but we see it as a real opportunity. And these technologies are actually very advanced. They're not just stories coming. And of course, going back to additional partnerships, so we've described how we can do business development to share risk, bring in non-dilutive capital, potentially spin out assets where it makes sense to do so, sell them. Okay, but also there'll be deals that could help generate revenue, whether it's global partnerships, for example, for some of our assets like preeclampsia, In-804 carrier testing. So lots of opportunity to create upside. We believe with good tailwinds are going in network some of these innovations through execution, and we expect to begin to really harvest those towards the end of the year, especially 21 and beyond. So with that, I'm going to thank you for your patience, your interest, and take care.